a business? You know that slow phone systems and missed messages cost you opportunities. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system that streamlines communication, helps teams collaborate seamlessly, and respond to customers 24/7. Join over 60,000 businesses already using OpenPhone. Get 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/talk. They'll even port your existing numbers for free. openphone.com/talk. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers.
You're listening to Lawyers Seek Venezuelan Migrants Return to U.S. After Prison Release, a news story written by Marianne Levine and Maria Sacchetti, and read by an AI-generated voice. A lawyer for scores of Venezuelan migrants freed last week from a Salvadoran prison and returned to their home country told a federal judge Thursday that the Trump administration should allow them back into the United States. But the Justice Department did not commit to doing so, telling Chief U.S. District Judge James E. Boasberg in Washington that the administration would permit their return if there is a lawful order. The exchange, which left the migrants' fate uncertain, came during a court status hearing in the ongoing legal fight over the Trump administration's March deportations under the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which President Donald Trump invoked to authorize the removals. The administration alleged Friday without evidence that all of the 252 migrants returned to Venezuela are members of a transnational Venezuelan gang. The migrants' attorneys have said the men were unlawfully removed from the U.S. without legal due process. News reports and court filings have indicated that many of them were not violent criminals, much less members of the gang. The detainees, who were held in El Salvador's notorious CICOT mega prison for 4 months, were flown to Venezuela in exchange for the release of 10 American citizens and permanent U.S. residents, including one convicted of 3 murders. During the court hearing, Lee Gallant, an attorney for the American Civil Liberties Union and lead counsel on the case, said that it is uncertain how many of them are still detained in Venezuela or have been released. Gallant said some of the men fear being sent back to the Salvadoran jail if they re-enter the United States. But he said that many of them had been seeking asylum to escape from alleged persecution from the Venezuelan government. Justice Department lawyer Tiberius Davis told Boasberg that the U.S. does not maintain a relationship with Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro's regime, and stated that if he holds them all in custody, that's purely up to the Maduro regime. Responding to questioning from Boasberg, Davis said the Trump administration would comply with the migrants' return to the U.S. if instructed to do so through a lawful order from a federal court. He suggested, however, that the government would first pursue a legal appeal in that scenario. What's remarkable is that the government will not do what's right without a court order, Gallant said in a statement. The government has not disputed that these individuals were removed without due process. He added that it is hard for me to imagine another administration refusing to remedy a constitutional violation of their own making. The prisoner exchange last week resolved the issue of the Venezuelans' detention in a notorious prison for gang members in El Salvador. But returning them to Venezuela raised fresh concerns for their safety and the legality of their transfers. Multiple lawsuits in the U.S. are pending over the issue. Among them, Boasberg has presided over the longest-running legal challenge related to Trump's invocation of the Alien Enemies Act, a statute typically used during war that allows the government to remove non-citizens on national security grounds without a court hearing. The hearing came the same day that the Democracy Defenders Fund and the League of United Latin American Citizens filed a claim to the Department of Homeland Security seeking financial damages on behalf of Nayerver Adrian Leon Rengel, 27, who was sent to CICOT in March. The claim alleges that federal officials lied to Rengel, who was born in Caracas, when they told him he was being deported to Venezuela instead of El Salvador. Rengel was stopped on his birthday in a parking lot outside his apartment, where federal immigration authorities erroneously claimed he was affiliated with the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua because of his tattoos, according to the claim. Upon arrival at Secoti, Rengel faced physical, verbal, and psychological abuse, the claim said. Rengel, who entered the U.S. seeking asylum in June 2023 after having an appointment with U.S. Customs and Border Protection, is seeking $1.3 million in damages. More than 130 of the Venezuelan deportees were deported under the Alien Enemies Act, according to the Trump administration. The others were removed under regular immigration laws, officials have said. In early April, a divided U.S. Supreme Court overturned Boasberg's block on the removals and cleared the way for the deportations under the act, saying the migrants' lawyers had filed the case in the wrong court jurisdiction. The justices directed them instead to file lawsuits in the jurisdictions where the detainees were being held, including Texas. The court's ruling stripped Boasberg of the central question of whether Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act to deport immigrants is legal. The Supreme Court sent the issue to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit in May, after the Trump administration gave some detainees only 24 hours notice before deporting them. The High Court later ruled that migrants must be given ample opportunity to challenge their summary removal under the Act. The appeals court heard oral arguments in June. Boasberg, however, still has jurisdiction over other issues related to the Alien Enemies Act case, including whether those who were sent to El Salvador should have the chance to return and pursue court petitions, challenging their alleged status as gang members who are eligible for removal under the Act. Many of those deported were in regular immigration proceedings and would like to continue them, lawyers have said. In June, Boasberg ruled that the first Venezuelan migrants deported to El Salvador, under the Act, must be given a chance to challenge their removals even if they are outside of the United States. The administration has appealed his decision. Melissa B. Harper, an acting assistant director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, said in a court filing Friday that the federal government had obtained assurances from the Venezuelan government that it will not impose obstacles if U.S. courts summon any of the migrants to return for immigration proceedings in the United States. But she said their return would depend on whether the U.S. government and the migrants themselves agree. Justin Juvenal contributed to this report.